Welcome back into Prospect, Produce, Prosper. I am John Jagay, joined as always by Marc Rogers. Marc, great to be with you.
Thanks, Jag. Always good to be with you.
Excited today. We have our first podcast guest, and I know it's somebody that you've worked hand in hand, arm and sleeve. He's kind of a right-hand guy for you in a lot of aspects. Fill in your analogy here. Why don't you introduce today's guest?
I'm super excited. Ryan VanSickle is somebody I would feel like a brother to me. And it's very, very hard in the industry today to trust what would call a vendor or a third-party person. Ryan, don't get pissed that I just said that. But it's very hard, right? Because there's so much noise and everybody's after your hard marketing dollars. And what I love about Ryan is I think he's truly in the place to help advisors grow. And that's how he's grown. He's been in the industry for a really long time. His mom, was a legendary advisor. He followed into her footsteps and he's been with the firm for a long, long time. And so I look to Ryan to keep me on cutting edge with marketing ideas on helping advisors grow their business. It's kind of the old school, new school today that we're doing, and we're still filling rooms with traditional mail, but we're doing them in different ways. And when COVID hit, and I'll share this story really quickly to introduce Ryan, but when COVID hit and all this stuff was crazy and people didn't know what they were going to do for business. And, advisors have always kind of worked, one cup of coffee at a time and kneecap to kneecap with people. And I went to Ryan like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do in this industry? And Ryan didn't skip a beat. It was, here's how we're going to figure this out. Here's how we're going to go digital. Here's how we're going to take your content and turn it into webinars. And we were like right out of the gate. In fact, that we started doing webinars March 2020. I mean, it was like immediately we had a turnaround and a let's figure this out together. And Ryan did a ton of pro bono work and stuff that he rolled up his sleeves on to get involved and to figure it out. And it's paid off. So Ryan VanSickle is somebody that every advisor who's really wanting to grow their practice, go to the next level, needs to hear from. He's an industry and a thought leader in his own right in space. And you know what? He's a guy that takes very little credit. I think he gets crapped on every single day, one way or another. And he takes those punches, Jag, and gets up the next day with enthusiasm. And I couldn't be more excited to hitch my wagon to him.
Well, I promise not to throw any punches at you today, Ryan. Welcome to the show, and give us a little bit more background as far as where you've been and what you do in addition to what Marc just described.
Well, guys, thanks so much for having me. And that was an awesome introduction, Marc. Thank you so much. And I definitely see you as a brother as well. And I think the term that comes to mind when I think of our relationship is a partner. We partner on projects. We partner on making sure your advisors are taken care of the best possible way, plugging in solutions that help fit and making sure we customize each approach to each individual person, their skill sets, their unique advantages as advisors. So I appreciate every opportunity you've given me. And it's been a wild ride, man. Going back to the pandemic and all the webinar stuff and scrambling, trying to figure it out on the fly. It's been fun. I've enjoyed every last bit of it. So I appreciate the opportunity. A little bit about me. I've been in the industry going back to 2009. So I was, like you said, Marc, I was following in mom's footsteps. The plan was to be a financial advisor myself. I went to college to do that and needed a job right out of college. Ended up working at a small little marketing company, which ended up becoming a fairly large company with a niche in the financial industry. Kind of found this niche and realized this seminar thing was something that actually worked. And we ended up selling to private equity in 2016. Now we've combined with RME 360 to become Leading Response. So definitely the largest marketing provider in the financial space by far. I'm proud to have been a part of this whole journey. And Marc, you and your advisor network that you've brought along the way have been a huge, huge part of it. You've helped me learn a lot of things, and I appreciate the relationship. And I'm excited to chat on some marketing stuff today. Let's do it.
Let's get right to that because we have our large audience of financial advisors listening to the podcast. And now we've gotten to know a little bit about you, Ryan, and how the relationship has worked between you and Marc. Guys, what actionable items and intel are providing our advisors today to really help them in their business?
In terms of the intel itself, I think the idea is most of the industry operates off of ideas and, conceptions that they've heard from other industry colleagues. And while some of those things can be true, there's a lot of myths, I think, that can misguide advisors. So just like a financial advisor, if they're truly a fiduciary, they're sitting with a client and they want to help take them down the best path possible.
Sure.
The best way to do that is with software, with data, right? They're not using best guesses to help educate their clients and to guide their clients into the best solutions, the best products, hopefully, right? If they're doing their job the way they should. And that's the best way that our marketing team at Leading Response helps guide our clients is we look to real hard data in any given market across the country to say, this is what's working. These are seminar venues that work, programs that work, zip codes that are yielding the best response rates. Here's where all the wealth is at. Here's what's going to be a best fit for you, not just next month, but long term. Let's plug you into a plan that you can stick to and we can hold you accountable to. And that's really what it's all about. So that really goes to data. That's the biggest thing.
It's funny, if I could draw an analogy to my previous life as a radio DJ, when you've got a radio program director trying to decide what music to play on the radio station. I think in the old days, prior to all this, data coming out, you'd have a program director go on gut, like, oh man, I think that song's going to be a hit. I'm going to play that. I'm not really feeling that song. I don't think that's going to work out. And I think a lot of financial advisors who don't tap into these resources might be doing the same thing. Oh, let me try this piece of marketing, or let me call my friend who's a financial advisor. Maybe they're also a fiduciary. Let's see what worked for them. Let me crowdsource it a little bit. But as we get into 2022 here, you've heard it all over the media, data is the new currency. And having that vast array of data that your team provides, Ryan, is just invaluable because you're making decisions based on hard numbers, not on gut.
Absolutely. And to that point, you definitely see a lot of, I think one of the biggest challenges for advisors, for specific to marketing, is that there are so many options.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many. Basically, as soon as you get your life and health license, you're getting emails from every marketing company on the planet, right? Because they want to sell you their products. And it's really tough to sift through the crap and figure out what actually works without unplugging from something that might actually be making you money, producing ROI that makes a lot of sense for your company, unplugging from that to try this new shiny thing or the thing that the guy down the street or from halfway across the country said worked for him. It's really tough to decide what suite of solutions is best for you specifically. So we try to be a one-stop shop at Leading Response to help you plug into a program that it provides you everything you need. And it's not just seminars, but lead generation, appointments, seminars, digital, direct mail, everything in one, and put together a long-term plan and hold you accountable to that if that's what you're looking to do, if you're serious about your goals.
What's interesting, Jag, is that there's a bunch of similarities to both of what your paths and how you look at marketing, right? It's like you're trying to decide on which song is going to then bring people back to your station to keep on listening, or what show or what ad.
Exactly, yeah.
Here's what I love about advisors. Oh yeah, let's play that song one time. It's going to be a hit, right? And that's the same thing with Ryan. I think one of the biggest issues that I have as I come across it is you try to sit down with an advisor to see how they want to more fully develop their practice, help them be successful. And, I tried that, dinner seminar 7 years ago. It didn't work. What else you got? And you're like, okay, well, tons of factors that go into that statement. How did you do it? And then how things have evolved today.
Sure.
Right. And our results speak for themselves. And so all you can do is quantify the value. But what you can't do is you can't help but sometimes show up. And even though your presentation's perfect, even though your steak is cooked correctly, I mean, you could literally do everything right. And you could just have a bunch of just horrible people in the room with that just are not feeling it that night. And you could bomb. And so just like in any level of marketing, it's having a proven process that you can get on the conveyor belt and work through and make it your own. But you got to be consistent. That's the true story is you got to play that song and you got to get it hooked into people's minds. And the more often you play the song, the more success that you have. And then it just ramps up really fast. And so what I love about Ryan, us teamed up at Producers Prospect together is truly, we can make it turnkey. We can take care of a lot of the mistakes that have been made before and now help with somebody, trying to really break in so that their first couple of presentations are truly successful, that gives them that pathway, that runway going forward. And our results work. I mean, this is actually a really good segue in that our live seminars back. I'm getting more and more advisors excited. But at the same time, my calendar's filling up. I mean, it's incredible. We're filling up Monday nights, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights now with rooms full of people. And Ryan and I were just looking over some Q1 results that we accomplished together. And I'm pretty impressed. I mean, nearly 40 seminars that I personally attended and spoke at. over 900 attendees that equated to something like 400 million of assets came through the rooms.
Wow.
Over that period of time. That's just Q1. My calendar, Ryan keeps me booked in sometimes multiple cities within the week. In fact, this week I'm sitting in Milwaukee, and Wednesday I go to Dallas, and it just seems to be every single week. So they are back. They are working. I hope that we're going to get a couple of nuggets, Ryan, about getting in the weeds and what's kind of the secret to success and what's working out there. But if you're not doing live events, your competition is whining and dining your current client today. So it's kind of like that whole adage of, you only keep the clients that you call. Well, it's the same thing with education. And what's really changed, Jag, I think you'll find this interesting, how education has really changed is investors want to be educated by their advisor. That's why they're hiring you. That's why they can justify the fee that they're paying you or the compensation that you're making. And so, the old send an article, a Forbes article or something that says, hey, look at this other really smart guy. Look at what he's saying. No, they want to be delivered to, right? They want it through a podcast, through an article, through a live event. And really it's like today you need all of those things working together. So as I work and look at the system to do a live event with Ryan, you got to meet with Jag and get your podcast recorded because we got to have some deliverables. We got to show people that we're real. So now prior to the event, we're doing a PR blast where we can do a press release and get you on Fox and CNBC and Market Watch. So anybody signing up for your event is seeing that you're getting that. And then the next day they should get a copy of the podcast where Jag's interviewing the advisor about their why and their purpose so that people can get to know them. So it's all that kind of buildup is some of the best practices, but it's insane how people want to get out today.
It's funny. I think we may have talked about this in a previous episode, Mark. If you go on a date with somebody, it used to sound creepy to do this, but now it's commonplace. You're probably going to Google them, see what you can find about them. Same thing. If you're going to go to one of these dinner seminars with an advisor, they're probably going to Google you to find out what you're all about before they go to your seminar. So I'm thinking if they're going to Google you, you want results to pop up. Hey, this was what I had on CNN. This is what I had on MSNBC. This is my podcast. They're all valuable assets. I do want to ask the both of you real quick, this, resurgence in live events. You talked about how busy you've been through Q1 of 2022, Mark. I'll ask both of you, Mark and Ryan. I got to imagine some of this is due to pent up demand from everybody being stuck in their houses for the last 2 years, right?
It really is. And Ryan can talk more to it. I mean, gosh, when we were doing webinars, we were starting to send meals to people. There was such a webinar fatigue, Jag, that we could get a bunch of people to sign up and say, yes, I want to listen, but then they forget that day, right?
Or they say, I just can't do one more Zoom thing today. I'm all zoomed out.
That's right. But now you send a steak dinner to their house and all of a sudden they're intrigued to watch what you have to say. And it's the same thing now with live events. So I'm seeing it at a smaller scale with just my advisors. Ryan's working on a large scale because he works with advisors outside of my firm all across the country. So Ryan, maybe you can talk to that a little bit.
Absolutely. So I think you've got two layers. You've got the results on paper, and then you've got the intangibles that you might not see looking at spreadsheets and whatnot. So just on paper, it's clear that seminars are definitely back. I do think a lot of it is attributed to the fact that we were all pent up in our homes, some areas more than others over the last couple of years. Folks are excited to get back out. Maybe they haven't been to their favorite restaurant in 2 years, or they haven't been as often as they would like to. And that was something that they did for date nights on Friday and things like that. So it's just the act of going out and having a night out where a lot of people are super busy. They don't make time for those type of things. So it's like, you know what? We really haven't been to Ruth's Chris in a couple of years. We should go do that. And this is something that, it's a topic that we're concerned about. We should be educating ourselves on. Why not? This makes perfect sense to go do it. So I definitely think that because we've been pent up, that has something to do with it. And I think just the recipe for seminars, I think the advisors on the surface just think, well, I'm giving people a meal, so I'm bribing them to come do a dinner, right? And it's this very simple recipe. When in reality, if you really unpack dinner seminars, I don't see anywhere in the near future this recipe not working, as long as we're not in the middle of a global pandemic. And the reason why is, and we could do a whole podcast on psychology, but there's 6 principles of persuasion, if anyone is familiar with Dr. Robert Cialdini. And all 6 of those principles are just packed directly into the seminar process. So I'll name them, and this is kind of the order that they fall. and we won't really spend a lot of time on them, but reciprocity. So you give someone a little something to get something in return.
Yep.
Something we see in our lives every day. So the meal, you get reciprocity from individuals because you've already gone out of your way to offer them a nice meal at a fine dining restaurant, right? So they feel almost indebted to you. And a lot of the time, it's not just folks show up, but they schedule meetings with you and ultimately all the time become clients, right? So it's a psychology that's layered into that. You've got scarcity, so there's limited seating. Commitment and consistency, we get people to commit multiple layers along the reminder process. They're committing to signing up, getting in their car, coming, scheduling meetings, coming to second meetings, all these things. There's commitment and consistency along the way. Social proof. There's no better social proof than being in a room full of people just like you.
Yep.
Right? Authority. I mean, if you are the host of an event and you know your stuff, what better opportunity do you have as an educator to be the authority and, financial thought leader in an area than to do a dinner seminar?
Oh, for sure.
And I mean, probably the most important on the sales side of being an advisor, liking is the last category. People buy from people that they like. This seminar, one of the most underrated parts is this really is kind of a first date when you alluded to dates before.
Not a bad first date at Ruth's Chris, by the way.
It's beautiful, right? And it's a chance for the advisor to get people to connect with them on a human level and just like them. It's not this technical unpack the products type of event. It's let's create some challenges and some things that their current advisor might not be bringing to the table and just be a human, right? And get people to like them.
Yeah.
That's the recipe for success. Just strip down to 6 simple principles of psychology.
So Ryan, let's unpack all the myths and untruths out there. And I'll say it in a different way, but why do people fail with this then?
Oh. How much time do we have?
Not enough.
I almost see it as like this journey where every 30 feet, you've got a fork in the road where you can go left or right. And it takes you down 2 completely different paths. One is the path to success, and the other one could be a complete loss of your investment in this thing. And as you know, between marketing the event and getting the right people there, and obviously the dining expenses, these are not inexpensive, right? They're very effective. The ROI is there, makes financial sense, but from a cost standpoint upfront, they're not cheap. So it's important that they follow all the steps. Goodness, if we had to just pick a couple, I'd say the one that comes up the very most in my career, looking at advisors, like Mark, you said, hey, I did a seminar 7 years ago and things didn't go well, right? So I'm just writing them off forever. Obviously, you've been through that before, as have I. And I always just say, well, if you don't mind, let's unpack that. Let's talk about the experience. Let's figure out where things might have gone wrong. And 99% of the time, there's 3 or 4 things. And one of those things are typically that they felt like they didn't want this to be a sales presentation, which is awesome. Totally agree with you. And in that vein, they did not want to push people to schedule meetings at the actual seminar itself. And that is probably one of the biggest downfalls that I see advisors make is they're waiting till the next day. And then they either themselves or their staff are calling, trying to get people back on the phone. It's impossible, guys. It's impossible.
Ryan, that violates all 6 of the rules you just mentioned, waiting till the next day, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. So while they're in the moment, you get people emotional. They're moved by your message. They're all breaking bread. Everyone's having a great time chatting together. What better time than to say, hey, you know what? I've opened up my calendar for everyone here for the next 2 weeks. And I've personally made time so me and my team can meet with you, address your concerns, answer your questions. You have no obligation. There's no cost. It's completely on me. We'd love to meet with you. Is there a particular day and time in the next couple of weeks that you come in? Here's where my office is at. And it's this really organic, beautiful conversation. It doesn't have to be when would you like to schedule your consultation and this really tight-knit, tight-tie type of thing. It's not that kind of a deal. And I think the advantage that the advisors that Marc works with has is that he's there to show them that. And I think he nails it, not just being a super charming guy and being really experienced in that, but he gets people, right? And he can connect with folks, and he knows how important it is to, once a seminar is concluding, once all the meals are being brought out and the guts of the presentation are done, he knows how important it is to walk around and have genuine conversations with every single buying unit that's at that event.
Yeah. One of the things that comes to my mind when I think about why people fail is that saying of failure to prepare is preparing to fail.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What is crazy to me is that somebody will invest $10,000 on a high and do it right. The right invitation, the right location, the handouts, the everything is just so dialed in, and you could follow the front end and the back end and all that, and then get up and be like, yeah, sorry, man, I didn't even look at the slides. Hopefully I can get through this tonight.
Oh God, I'm cringing.
It's the worst. And this is uncomfortable because some of my advisors I work with are going to listen to this and be like, that dog is talking about me. Gosh dang it. But it's uncomfortable. Like, Jack, just let me give you an example now. I've got probably 4 different recordings of me in different cities that I've had high-end camera crews come in and record me and the advisor that I'm with. I got multiple styles of advisors, peers doing the presentation. That gets given to every advisor. I offer advisors to come out and fly out and come sit in the back of the room. Come experience the whole thing with the right advisor, right? Come see what it's all about and learn from that. And then you get the slide deck way in advance. It's got all the speaker notes. And if you're doing it with me, just assume I'm doing 80% of the presentation. So you literally have like, here's the 4 slides at the beginning. Here's the 2 slides at the end. Fill in the blank here and make people truly unique and like you and that kind of stuff. And sure enough, people won't follow that. So I've tried to take out all of the things that could go wrong, or at least take solutions. For an example, here in 30 seconds is the live seminar process from producer's prospect. When you say, yes, you want to do this, you'll be met with a high-end team that's got a ton of education on where to do the presentation, what nights, what times, who to invite, all of that. Totally turnkey, and that gets done. When somebody signs up for your presentation, they'll get 4 or 5 different touches, including a text message video from you welcoming people. They'll get an article that was recently written by you that's showing up in Market Watch. We're looking at your website. We're looking at all your collateral, and we'll make sure that you show up everywhere. Maybe we get a podcast going that's about you. So by the time somebody's showing up for dinner, not only will they have gotten all these touches from you, making you the celebrity in your own right, but I've got a team that you could delegate the calls to. And I have a team that is highly trained that can sniff out those people that are just wanting to eat dinner.
Yeah.
And they'll qualify the people. So Ryan is generating, let's just say we want a room full of 30. Ryan normally generates about 50 people, which allows us to whittle that down to the right people. So then my team will call, get the right people in the room. I have all the handouts, the PowerPoint, all the stuff to get you set up. We come and do the presentation. I'll come out and do it with you, show you how to do it. If you want staff to come to the meeting because you don't have anybody to go around the room to book an appointment, you can hire some of my staff to come out and actually book the appointments for you at the event. Then starting the next day, we have a text, a voicemail drop, and an entire lead funnel system, including dropping webinars on people, giving away free gifts like a downloadable white paper, and we'll make the outbound calls for you over the next 60 days to remind people about their appointments, make sure that people show up for their appointment, and get them to you. If you even want us to do meeting number 1, which is more of a fact gathering meeting afterwards, I've got staff that will do all the fact find, that they'll gather all the assets, they'll do the case design. So now you're meeting number 2. Like, we can take a complex thing and make it really system. And I kind of look at it as an iceberg, and outside of the water is the presentation itself. Like, we got to get through that. Down below are all the things that go into making this a real success and investing in. So I go, if you're going to invest 10 grand up at the top and do the rest of it right and really maximize your dollars, because 400 million that walks through the room in 3 months, if I don't have people making more money, working with more qualified people, and being super excited about this business, like, what are we doing?
Right.
And it starts with doing it the right way. Go ahead, Ryan.
So I think I can add to that. And I think where they fail a lot of the time comes down to the mindset that they have about the actual opportunity to do these in the first place. And what I mean by that is, a lot of the time, the question, Mark, you get it all the time. And obviously in my industry, I do too. Well, how much does it cost? Right. And what I want advisors listening to this podcast to know is that is a terrible question to ask. I want you to completely reframe that and think, how much is the investment?
Yes.
It's a completely different mindset than how much does it cost, because the investment implies there's a return. And that's the way that you should be looking at it. When you're out looking for investment options for yourself or for your clients, you're not looking for the cheapest investment. You're looking for the best return,
Right.
for what you're putting into the investment. And that's truly what this is. And to Mark's point, to make that investment yield as much as possible, the cool part about it is you have full control over the whole thing. And if you truly treat it as a process, from the second you pick how you're going to market the event, from the second those people call in and the first impression of your company is made with the RSVP team who's actually taking the registrations for your event, all of those things are the tiny little minutia that add up to a successful event. And Marc and Producers Prospect have packaged that through just years and years of experience to make sure that you don't make any of the same mistakes that they made years and years ago, right? We've learned there, been there, done that, made the mistakes so you don't have to, which is awesome. So pre-seminar, game day, post-seminar, got it all done, packaged, but it needs to be treated and appreciated as a process, not just, I'm buying this thing, I'm going to show up and just try to get through the presentation because Marc's doing the other 80%. It needs to be cherished as an investment that you have control over to squeeze as much out of that lemon as possible.
You know, if I could sort of sum up what we've covered today, there are a million different ways that you can mess up doing one of these live seminars. There's so many variables and so many things to go wrong. But the team of the two of you, Ryan, you bring the quantitative data, the qualified leads and how to do this kind of stuff. And Marc, in addition to that, you also bring the quality piece of the qualifiable data of knowing how to do the presentation, knowing what works, having those soft skills, knowing how to charm the room and stay on top of them. And I think that's what makes the two of you such a dynamic duo is you have the experience, you have the data to know exactly how to do it in terms of hard numbers and soft skills to make this work for your clients.
I couldn't agree more.
Mic drop. Jag. Mic drop, Jag. Yes, you're hired.
Absolutely. And it is definitely a teamwork thing. Every advisor that I meet that Marc brings to me, I let them know that the value he's bringing to this seminar approach is unlike anything else that's out there. I don't know anyone else. And I think a good person to call would be Marc's wife, Stacy, to know just how often he is on the road, right? God bless his wife and his kids because he's on the road a lot, but they know that, dad's got to work. And obviously he's out helping people grow their careers. And he has a passion for doing that. And his family appreciates it. And it's just really cool to see, it really is. But Marc's created something incredible with Producers Prospect. He understands it. He's been there. He's got different vantage points from within the financial industry, which I think is really unique. And he's changing the lives of advisors and prospects there's a lot going on in the world today. These events truly are having an impact on consumers' lives and helping them navigate some of life's biggest decisions that they otherwise wouldn't have had the help to do.
All right. Well, send me the invoice, Ryan. I'll go ahead and pay it right now. You're a true friend and somebody, like I said, as a thought leader that I love that you keep me forward thinking and in front of things and reach out to us. Jag, I would say as a call to action, it's you got to take one step forward, even if it's a small step by just having a conversation. Let's sit down. Let's organize what you're doing now. How do we help you grow and quantify the value of developing a partnership to see how much more qualified, committed, coachable people we could bring to you in a very short time. And we'd love to help.
Marc, how do our listeners find you at Producers Prospect?
Website's great, producersprospect.com. You can go on there and click on a time to schedule through my Calendly link. You can go to my LinkedIn, Marc Rogers, or Producers Prospect. Facebook, same thing. And we're constantly updating on new cities that I'll be in that week. So I'm a kneecap to kneecap guy. If I'm in your city, there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't meet and see how we can help each other.
I prefer handshakes to kneecaps, but I guess that's personal preference.
Intimate. We're talking intimate here, Jack.
All right, fair enough.
Here we go.
Ryan, great getting to know you. Marc, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.